Good morning, everyone. I wanted to take a few minutes and talk to you a little bit about my mom, my stepdad, Wayne, a couple of wonderful people. They spent quite a bit of their life going to church and learning a few things about the Lord, getting some degrees at Berean. Wayne got a business degree from Missouri. Mom down here in Texas got a few more classes. They were a couple of wonderful people. Loved the Lord and loved to talk to people about Jesus. We found out that Mom had COVID on in January, and then she never got over that. And when Texas lost their power for a couple of days in February, she got pneumonia along with the COVID, and about 5 days later, she expired. You might say she breathed her last breath here and breathed her next breath in the presence of Jesus. We're reminded of a couple of pretty amazing scriptures that tells us in Philippians, be anxious for nothing, but in all things through prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known, and the peace of God that passes all understanding will keep your hearts and your minds. And I know Mom believed it strongly in her declaration of faith, and she was excited to get to heaven, to get to be with her husband, who passed away a year before that in March of 2019. And so here in this columbarium at the Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery, that is where they are at. And they're in this, right in front of us in this columbarium. Notice it says Mildred C., 1938, 2021. And Master Sergeant Wayne Sharp, 1941, 2019. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the things that happened over those periods of time. We are left pretty heartbroken, missing them dearly, and so leading up to the last 5 days of Mom's life, she was placed back in the intensive care unit for COVID patients, and said everything was ready. She wanted to make sure that everything was ready before she went, and then she said everything was ready and she was ready to go. So the pneumonia was not overcomable, and she was ready to go see Jesus and ready to go be with her husband. And I just love some of the pictures that I've seen of this stroll across heaven with you. It's wonderful. Later today, my son will be singing that. But I'm here by myself, so I can just collect my thoughts and talk a little about my mom. She's a wonderful person. So the morning that Mom passed away, the 27th of February, it was interesting that my brother and I were waking up at the same time. His was an hour before mine because he lives in Louisville, Kentucky. But we were waking up at the same time with some thoughts about Mom, and started thinking about Mom. And then later that morning we were notified that Mom had passed away. And so there was a couple of really interesting thoughts that my brother had, which was all of the names that people seem to get for Mom over the years, which was a lot of people called her Millie, Mimi, Aunt Mildred, Aunt Millie, Aunt Mimi, Grandma, Granny Grunt Runt, Gigi, and my brother and I, we just called her Mom. Me and my brother and my sister are pretty heartbroken. We would appreciate your prayers, and as we know you are. And so, leading up into the story of Mom's life, Mom wrote down a few things that I think she wanted shared. She wanted people to know that her parents, our grandma and grandpa's Sargents, were born in 1908, both of them. Grandpa got a fourth grade education and then went to work in the coal mines, which was on the other side of the mountain. You had to go through Cujo's Cave, as many I know are aware of Cujo's Cave, and to get to where the coal mines were, and then you worked your day and came back home in Lee County, Virginia. Grandpa being graduated from the fourth grade of elementary school, went to work in the mines. Grandma made it to the 10th grade with her education and learned to cipher and learned to learn math and writing. And she was the one that probably held everything together through their life, Grandma Sargent. But they were both born in 1908. I would believe that they were pretty poor. They had incomes and stuff, but April the 17th, 1927, Grandma and Grandpa got married. They went to Claiborne, Tennessee, Claiborne County, Tennessee, and got married there. And then they carried their life, and their first son, Harmon Ray, was born in May 12th, 1928, in Lee County, Virginia. It's interesting because where Uncle Ray was born, which was where you turn on Old Nursery Road off of 58 to the left there, that structure, back in Daniel Boone's day, that structure was a place that he stayed at. Daniel Boone stayed in that structure before it became a house that my Uncle Ray was born in. That's an interesting little bit of Lee County, Virginia history. But they tried to make it through living there in Lee County until 1936. So everyone is aware that 1936 is the Great Depression years. So right after they got married, we fell into a Great Depression, and the Great Depression had consumed most of our country. There weren't a lot of jobs, but there was a man up in Illinois that was offering them a house, milk cow, and a big enough piece of land to have a garden. And he came up and worked for J. Ray Fletcher there in Thayer, Illinois. That's where my mom was born. My mom lived there till she was about 3 years old, so Grandpa worked there for quite a little while for J. Ray Fletcher. And so Mom was born February 1st, 1938. And right after she was 3 years old, which would put it up, World War II was going on in 1941. So 38, 39, 40, 41. World War II was starting when Mom was moved to Rochester, Illinois, and they lived on a farm outside of Rochester, Illinois. You'll notice the 10 years difference between Mom and her brother. That means that by this time, 1941, Ray was 16 years old. He was probably looking to get into go fight for his country, but there was an incident that happened with Uncle Ray, and as many of you know, sometimes when we're traveling down the road, we have to really be careful. We have to watch out what we're doing. We never know what's going to come up in front of us. We have to always watch, always be observant, and always be defensive about our driving. I like the laws that Isaac Newton gave us, the theories or the laws of motion, the laws of inertia. That's the reason we wear seatbelts today, is because the laws of inertia, forward motion. If you hit something in front of you and you were going 30, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour and you weigh 100 pounds, that now becomes 2,000 pounds coming to a stop if you're going 30. and you can see the difference there if you're going 60. You won't be able to overcome it, but that seat belt will save your life. It will keep you in the car and not in the problems that come in front of you when you are coming to an abrupt stop. So let's not have any accidents in our family. Let's drive safely and drive defensively. And then so Uncle Ray, the reason I tell you that story is because Uncle Ray was riding a horse there, and the road was wet, it had been raining, and he tried to jump the road with the horse, and the horse slipped and fell on his foot, and he never was the same. When it came time to join up for World War II, he couldn't because he had a bum foot the rest of his life. So you never know what an accident can cause, but it can affect the rest of your life. It would be tragic to see that ever happen in our family. So let's drive safe, let's drive defensively, and let's watch out and be observant for the things in front